5:30 dead? Check it with
I'm not looking today.
Michelle's got it.
She,
Call this meeting to order, please. My gavel's
You
still
do?
intact.
Well, stuff.
Michelle, would you call the roll, please?
Bruce Stickle.
Present.
Jerry Motter.
Present.
Doug Humphrey.
present.
Dan Verbeck.
Present.
Cassandra Mikhail. Karen Wilson.
Present.
Okay, Mr. Scott's not here. I'll see if I get us started on the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Oh, you have a copy in your packet of the minutes of the last meeting on April 7th. Are there any additions or corrections to those? Or I would entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
For a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded to approve those minutes. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Sorry, I've got the place started.
One down.
And,
Reading.
Mayor, if I could, I have a message from Cassandra,
Okay?
okay? Cassandra had texted me this afternoon and said that she's not able to make the meeting tonight, but she does wish to extend her thanks to all the departments and to the audience in the community, and for her time on the board. She's quite proud, and so are we, of her involvement in park improvements. She hopes to see the village to continue to move forward, particularly with the planned Dixon Park projects. The journey has been informative and an interesting ride, and she says she will be back from time to time to see us, this time in the audience. So I want to thank Cassandra for her service.
I do too. I wanted to make a comment about that. She's been on the board now 4 years, and she has some conflicts. You all know that. She's got a class she's taking for her career, but she's also been quite active with the parks and helped make improvements there, and we thank her officially for her participation on the board. So, thanks, Cassandra. Okay, that is Steve.
Yes.
Consideration of treasurer's report. Carry on. There you go.
Right. First section, total ARPA distributions for March of 2025 for $77,300. ARPA funds remaining to be spent as of March 31st is only $50,598.49. Month and fiscal year to date performance by major fund, general fund, payroll tax fund, motor fuel tax, and Camden Center are all in the negative for the fiscal year. That's kind of been budgeted and it's been expected, so nothing too alarming. The general fund, we're sitting at $654,000. We've budgeted an $80,000 deficit for this year. I think that we'll be close to that. It's just from an estimate of what April's numbers are falling out right now. Top 10 general fund revenues for March. Sales tax, non-homeable tax are similar. I did want to highlight the local cannabis tax has increased again, so our monthly average, our rolling average for the fiscal year is improving. So I wanted to highlight that. And also, our municipal utility tax was received on April 1st, so we'll have 2 payments in April for our municipal utility tax.
Okay.
If you turn to the second page, our top 10 expense category activities. The police other professional services is the top. That's for the quarterly coupon payment. Accounted for 81,000 of that 85. The engineering services, which were mentioned in the ARPA funds on the previous page, were 77,000. And then I also wanted to highlight the audit and accounting services. That total was close to 35,000 was the total invoice that was split amongst funds. And then there were a couple equipment purchases down at the bottom for water sewer trailer and a replacement projector at the Camden Center. Cash and cash equivalent balances are listed. The total cash we have between Illinois Funds and Blackhawk Macon Trust as of March 31st is $23,667,037.63.
Sounds like we have a whole lot of money.
Yes.
Doing okay. Question, I forgot what it was. Okay, questions, anybody? Carry on's report. Looks good to me. Okay, I did?
That's it for the treasurer's report, but I did have a memorandum that's on, like, it's the next packet. I wanted to address that as well.
Okay, let's approve this report
All right.
first. Is there a motion to approve treasurer's report?
I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
For a second?
Second?
Motion made and seconded to approve Ariane's report, treasurer's report. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Very good, thank you. Now, go ahead with your.
Okay, so there's a memorandum behind the treasurer's report in your packets. It's just a formal memo stating that the 2025 Standard & Poor's rating upgrade, we're pleased to announce the recent rating of A, awarded by Standard & Poor's. This is a one-notch upgrade from the previous rating in 2022. They reference factors such as improved reserves, budget performance, and pension funding discipline as major determinants in the rating. Some of the things that they will be watching will be local economy factors, including DEER, even though our PDC had not been affected since they are a major property taxpayer. And with the recent layoffs, they are going to be watching that. They'll also be watching NTI and our cannabis revenues to make sure that we're still doing okay. And then they're also going to be watching our cash reserves. And when I spoke with Scott regarding anything that we could do to continue to improve between now and our next rating, he did say that we could formalize and adopt financial policies, including, but not limited to, like a financial reserve policy, budget and financial management, fund balance, debt management, and those formalization of policies will then help their credit rating. Yeah.
So there's still things we can do, but we've
So,
already had
yeah.
a nice improvement in it.
And that's the one thing that I do ask, or I've asked that, in 2022 and then again
Yeah.
this time, is just what can we do? What is within our control that we can do to improve this rating and to
Right.
continue improving our credit?
Potentially
So-
saves a lot of money.
Exactly. So that's what he told me was, the things with the local economy, we can't really,
Can't do anything with it.
that's out of our control. But we can control certain policies and,
We
review.
do what we can do, and
Yeah.
what we can't, we can't.
So, and then I also did want to mention that we had our pre-audit meeting, or I had a pre-audit meeting with Bossack and Promote on April 14th, and they will be on site for internal control selections, May 28th and 29th, and field work will be the week of June 23rd. And as long as everything goes as planned, we should have a draft report middle of August.
A
So
whole lot
about
sooner than
4
we've gotten
months
in the last
sooner
few
than
years.
what we had had in the past. I also wanted to say ARPA filing has been started, it's due April 30th. And I also met with Rock Island School District with the finance director and the superintendent regarding the property tax rebate program. It is set to expire June 30th. So we'll have a new IGA soon. I believe that Onico is going to work on a couple things, and there might be a couple changes to the program, but that'll just be on their end, and I'll still be doing the same thing, so.
I like the idea, we're gonna get our audit done early.
Yes.
It'll be much better than budget, I'm sure. Any questions or comments, Ariane's report? This is an addendum, I guess we can call it. Motion to approve her addendum discussion, just to put it on the record that way.
I make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded to approve that extra report, I guess, though it's not part of the agenda. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you very much. Thanks, Ariane. Where are we here? Semi-monthly and miscellaneous bills. Doug?
The regular payables for this period were $302,956.59. There was a miscellaneous voucher for $295,397.50 for a total for approval of $598,354.09. The $295,397.50 was a miscellaneous bond payable, and I think we passed that. That was last meeting. Anyway, Top five largest payouts were Alltech for the bucket truck repairs, $117,867.38. Brandt Construction for water main repair, $28,235.68. Surdex Corporation for professional services, $26,561. Peerless Well and Pump for pump repair of $23,845. And last, Meriton Health for the medical premiums and admin, $23,572.96.
Okay. I just want to make a note, when we pay Brandt for water main repairs, because it's too deep or one that we can't get to, we repair our own whenever possible, but every now and then we see one where we have to call somebody else in with bigger equipment. Okay, anything else, Doug?
No, that's it, so I would, is there any questions on any of the others?
What's the Surdex Corporation?
That's aerial photography. It was a joint project through Bi-State Regional Commission, Muscatine, Scott, Rock Island County Communities, jointly did regional aerial photography and mapping products, approved by the council.
Yeah.
Actually over a year ago.
I
because
remember that, but I couldn't remember the name.
Yeah, they flew the photography spring of last year and then do all the photo interpretation and adjustments and everything. So this is the final bill on that project.
Okay, very good. Okay,
If there are no other questions, then I would make a motion that we pay our bills in the amount of this period, in the amount of $598,354.09.
Second motion.
motion made and seconded to approve payment of those bills, as Doug stated. We should have a roll call, please. Michelle?
Bruce Stickle?
Yes.
Jerry Motter?
Yes.
Doug Humphrey?
Yes.
Dan Verbeck?
Yes.
Karen Wilson?
Yes.
Motion carried, pay the bills. Thank you very much, everybody. So, we are on item 6, discussion of policies for public participation at meetings and hearings. We have discussed since the last meeting that we need some better rules for public participation. There's always time for comment, questions, whatever at the end of the meeting, but we want to set down some rules. We've been, and I think Lincoln and Steve have been researching some other communities as to what they do for those participation times. And I think most of you got a sample from Rock Island. They're doing theirs too, because they've had some things happen that are kind of unusual, I guess. So, Steve and Lincoln, do you guys want to take it away, or should we?
Well, first off, I'd apologize. I was supposed to have a draft of this to you today, and I had some problems in the office, lost the internet, but the Rock Island one looks to me to be pretty good. So if you have that you can look at, I don't know if there are any suggested changes from that draft that you all would like. I think we could fairly well adopt that one as is, and then change it over. With any set of rules like this, the thing we need to avoid is regulating the subject matter of what people want to speak on. They can say whatever within reason, but we're just trying to have some rules around decorum and repetitiveness and keep the meeting down to a manageable time as well. So,
Could I read these? You guys want to, should I go through them for the audience too?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. If you don't mind, think that'd be appropriate. I'll paraphrase, kind of shorten it. Members of the public will be allowed to address public officials at any regular or special meeting of the public body of the city under the rules set forth therein. Participation at times of public comment, public hearing, and invited speakers, and those sometimes can get away from you a bit too. So we'll be careful about that. Public comment period not to exceed 30 minutes, held during each board and commission meeting. I'm going to leave a few parts out that just don't mean anything. Anyone desiring to address the public body shall sign in at least 5 minutes before the start of the meeting. Speaker must include their name, address, contact information, and topic that will be discussing. This is pretty common among other kinds of groups. It keeps it a little bit more in order. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Speaker cannot give their allotted minutes to another speaker. To increase that person's time, and they will do so from a podium. We're going to get a podium, Steve? Yeah. To have people come up here in front, so we have the order. It's a lot easier for us to hear, easier for everybody else to hear. Do so from the podium, and should not approach the board, commission, city council, or city staff. Groups of residents should, whenever possible, consolidate their comments and avoid repetition to representative speakers. Public comment is not intended to require board, commission, committee, city council, or city staff members to provide any answer to the speaker. Discussions between speakers and members of the audience will not be allowed. We've tried to do this before with not a whole lot of success sometimes. All items must pertain to city business, comply with this section, rulings of the presiding officer. Speakers must be called upon by the presiding officer prior to addressing the public body. Speakers will be well-mannered in their language and presentation. The presiding officer may impose reasonable limitations or public participation at public meetings, such as barring repetitious, irrelevant, immaterial, or inappropriate comments to the testimony. Second page. Members of the audience shall refrain from applauding, cheering, or booing. We don't like to be booed, right? It shall be unlawful for any person by his conduct to interfere with the orderly conduct of a city council meeting after first being warned that his conduct is disrupting the assembly and is given the opportunity to cease and yet fails to do so. If they continue to disrupt the meeting after being warned, they shall be removed from the meeting. Rock Island's had some problems with this lady. In fact, that's so bad. One night, they called off the meeting. They couldn't get anything settled down. Isn't that true? I read in the paper. Shall be unlawful for any person to possess any bullhorn or similar sound amplification equipment of the city council chambers. That's pretty self-explanatory. Any person violating the provisions of this section shall be subject to a fine of not less than $25, nor more than $500. The above rules shall generally apply to public hearings and meetings of the city council of Milan and all subsidiary boards, commissions, and committees of the city of Milan. We might make some changes to that. If you see anything in the next few days or a couple of weeks that you'd like to see added or struck from it, I think it sounds pretty good.
There was one thought I had in reading some of the other stuff on it. I don't know if you want to accept written comments that somebody could send in during the week to be included in the minutes or drop them off or something like that. Perhaps that would be something you would.
As a question then for us to bring up.
For either to read into the minutes or that somebody had a comment on something that maybe they didn't want to. But this didn't address that, so I'm
Yeah.
throwing that out there.
Okay.
There's something
Okay.
for you to, not suggesting it one way or another.
Who sets the fines?
Doesn't say on there.
And does this go through Ulysses?
I think it would.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I thought.
That's our.
So then it would be set.
So it doesn't go through
Administrative
circuit court, it goes through municipal court.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
And for the
Just
audience,
curious.
Ulysses is a membership organization under provision of Illinois state law that provides for municipal level fines and penalties to optionally be processed outside of the court system so it doesn't clutter that up, and is heard by an administrative officer out of downtown Rock Island. It's coordinated through a program administrator at Bi-State Regional Commission. But the hearing officer is typically an attorney that is under contract to hear these cases and make decisions as far as what the fine will be.
I know.
Yes, absolutely.
City of Moline, City of Rock Island, and Rock Island County use this process.
Do they?
And it works very well.
Good.
And other members, it's fairly extensive in Rock Island County. I know Coal Valley, Silvis, I believe Port Byron. There's a number of other communities that do it. We don't have the volumes of some of the larger cities do.
Right.
Yeah, we use municipalities quite a bit for, in the summer particularly. Okay, we don't have any document to pass tonight, but I'd like to give it careful consideration. And Lincoln, hopefully by next
Yeah,
time.
we'll put that one
have something
together.
to Put it together. What do you think about the written comment?
I think the written comment would give another avenue.
Mhm.
I don't know that we're to the point where we could take comments like Davenport does, where they're trying to set up, where you can like like a chat type thing and
Yeah.
we're not to that point yet, but certainly that would give you a second avenue.
Video chat,
Yeah.
like a live.
Yeah, we're not ready for
What do you
that.
think? Should we include written comments or
Yeah.
somebody
Oh,
have
yeah.
one through the
I think we
week?
should give everybody a chance to
Okay.
express their opinion, whether they're here or not here.
And if they get too lengthy, we'll have to put them off to another meeting sometimes, because
Could be that.
we can't take all night to do those kinds of things.
30-minute cap on public comment and 3 minutes per speaker, okay?
Yes,
Sounds good to me.
One question, we had, if somebody has a cell phone and somebody makes a comment, number one, that comment, that person's not identified, and the other, I think the issue was about the green water. And it became a back and forth thing.
We're gonna try to avoid.
If somebody
that.
wants to make a comment, well, number one, that would not be, that.
It wouldn't be on the agenda.
That probably shouldn't be even a question, but there's no way for that person to identify themselves.
So okay, I got you.
Yeah, so, you can't have like a third, I guess, like a third party, where,
third party
Well,
representation.
Yeah.
We can stipulate they should be written, questions or comments through the week, and we can take those up if it says in there, we don't have to answer any questions if we don't have the information or whatever, so we can take those as we see them. So, right? So should we limit it to written things, not something somebody picks up off of their cell phone? Is that what you're saying, Doug?
yeah,
That's
yeah.
okay. I'm good with that.
We'll start small.
What's that?
We'll start small.
Yeah,
With the
yeah.
written sign.
See how it goes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I don't know whether we need any action, that's just a direction to Lincoln to write something up for our approval or disapproval, if we wish. All right, that okay with everybody? That's an advisory kind of thing, so we don't need to take any action on it. Okay? Thanks, Lincoln. Use your most grandiose language. Make it simple.
Right.
I like simple. Okay, very good, thank you. Consideration of a, I'm
Mayor,
sorry,
before we
Steve?
move off, I'm sorry, because you mentioned an incident was brought up last meeting on the green water. Our water department followed up on that the next day, we had the address, we contacted the homeowner. They allowed us to come over, we took a sample on it, and there was no observed problem with the water. They did take a water sample, had it tested, and it was pure and clean. So,
Everything was good.
whether it was a problem with their internal plumbing or a water softener or some other circumstance that might have been unique to the home, we had no other problems in the neighborhood, no other comments or problems, and it tested fine the next day.
I saw the same.
And then as a result of that, after the meeting, they were still trying to figure out how to get in touch with allegedly trying to get in touch with the water department. I can tell you, it's clearly on the webpage. It says this is during the working hours, and this is the after-hours telephone number. And I think we tried to get that across, but I'm not sure that it did. But the website has got a lot of very valuable information. A lot of updating has been done on it, and I would invite you to try that as a first source.
Yep, I agree. I saw the sample the next day. It was fine. It was clear water. Okay, let's go on to item number 7. This is consideration of a 2025 Chevy Tahoe for the police department, not to exceed $60,000 from Miles Chevrolet. This is our group that does the state bidding, Miles Chevrolet. So, Chief, you want to comment about it, and Steve too?
So this would be just a normal replacement, replace one of the squads that we've had for a while. Starting to have a lot of mechanical issues with it.
Right.
So this would be the replacement for that squad.
Now, we're going to do this on next year's budget, though?
It'll be basically pending the approval. I have it written into my budget for May 1st, so pending the approval of that. However, when I talked to the dealership, they informed me they had some 25s on the lot right now. The 26s will be available, the ordering will be available later in the year at some unknown timeline. But with some of them on the lot right now, I was assured if I could get approval, then there would be one made available to us after the May 1st.
After May 1st.
Right.
Okay, so it'll be part of next year's budget. Karen, you're chairman of that?
I'll go ahead and make that motion.
Okay. Yeah, I agree, it's a lot of money for a car.
It is.
It's gonna
They're all-
Scary.
They're all
Super scary.
expensive. Yeah.
But we use that vehicle for a lot of different purposes, right? Isn't that true?
Well, I mean, they're used very heavily.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, we don't have a squad car for every officer, so they're shared amongst 2 or 3 officers.
Yeah.
So sometimes they may run 24 hours a day for 2 or 3 days in a row.
Great,
Yeah, so wear and tear on them is, the way it was explained to me from the dealership is if whatever the odometer says, take that times about 2.5 or 3,
Yeah.
just because of the amount of idle time that we have. with
Really?
them.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't wanna wait till 26, because you'll get a cheaper deal now, and the price is gonna go way out.
Yeah, it's gonna go up.
Way up.
It's a good reason to do it now and
Absolutely.
save some money.
Yep.
Correct.
And that updates a lot of them, and so if we do end up having to skip a year
Yeah.
next year, we're still sitting pretty good.
We've been replacing some vehicles lately, we've done it the last few months, so. Karen, you want to make that?
Yes, I'd be glad.
I'll second that, I'll second that motion.
Motion
For
made.
the approval.
For the approval, yes.
It's not to exceed $60,000.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money for a car. They didn't pay that much for mine.
Cost that much for a regular pickup truck.
I know, I'm just flabbergasted by the price of vehicles anymore.
That's not the electronics and everything
No,
else.
no, that's just the car.
That's just the car. Motion was made and seconded to make that, to approve that purchase. Any other considerations or discussion? A roll call on that question, Michelle.
Jerry Motter.
Yes.
Doug Humphrey.
Yes.
Dan Burback.
Yes.
Karen Wilson.
Yes.
Bruce Stickles.
Yes.
Motion carried. In business, chief.
All right, thanks, sir.
Yeah, you guys can leave. You don't want to sit there and look at us. No problem. Take care. Consideration of the hot in place recycling. Is that supposed to be hot or heat in place?
Microsurfacing's first.
And they're 2 different quotes, but they're a package, basically.
Okay.
They are called hot in place recycling, HIPR.
Just sounds like it should be heat in place. Okay, yeah, we have 2 of those. Number 8, this is the microsurfacing we do every year. Asphalt company, it saves us a lot of money. We get a lot of streets done that we wouldn't otherwise be able to get done. We did several last year, and we've been around the town
We
lately.
did a lot.
And there's a lot of nice neighborhoods that look a lot nicer than they did, and the people are appreciative of the process that's done. So this is number 8, consideration of microsurfacing to be completed by American Asphalt in the amount of $86,150. Steve, you had some concerns about that exact number?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that everybody understands that what we have is a schedule of streets that will be done, and that is subject to any adjustments necessary. We're lining up the work right now. We have a unit price in the case of I have actually under the hot in place portion of it. And this first action item is with Struck and Irwin paving, and that's the microsurfacing.
Yeah, I'm
But,
sorry. I skipped ahead there one.
No, well, yeah, and it's like I say, you really don't do one without the other. But we have a unit price of $5.80 per square yard, and so we have an estimate on that, but the actual payout will be based on the square yards of material. So it will vary from it. Typically, something will turn up, something that doesn't weather very well, since Steve Gibson took a look at it in March. And so, we might have some intersection work or some additions on it, but based on the estimate of 17,230 square yards, that multiplies out to be the 99,934.00 for the hot in place.
And microsurfacing.
The microsurfacing, again, and I don't have the unit price on that, but it's that amount divided by is $86,150.
Yeah, so those we've had, like 4th Street, we had additions to that when we found other things that needed to be done. So it'd be the same thing there, correct?
Yeah.
Fair thing to say.
Typically, what we would do is budget about 5 to 10% more than that amount to give ourselves some contingency. So with those totaling about $195,000, $185,000, excuse me, I think that we would be in the vicinity of not to exceed 200,000 or 205,000.
Would that be your pleasure to do that, to leave some leeway there?
Yeah, I think
The
that's
actual bill will not necessarily be that much, but it leaves us some work room. Go
I
ahead.
got a question.
Yeah.
Microsurfacing, hot in place, are we adding another layer on top?
No,
Or are we grinding down?
It's actually, the process is, they bring semis in with propane heaters, flamethrowers on the bottom of it.
Right.
And they actually soften the material to the point then that the last semi coming through, the flatbed coming through, has tines down into this softened blacktop or seal coat. And it breaks that up and brings it up, and then it gets bladed down in the same process and relayed. There's, if necessary, additional emulsion that's added to it. And so once they go down a block, it's laid down, it begins to cool, and in no time, it's a drivable surface.
Okay.
But that's the hot in place, obviously. And our crew goes out first, so if there are bad areas that have to be dug up or material added to low spots, we get that in and we prep it ahead of time. And then it all gets laid back out as a uniform surface. And anywhere from a week to a month later, a separate company will come in and do the microsurfacing. And that's similar to a person putting down an emulsion to seal a blacktop driveway,
Okay.
to add life to it. So it seals it up and it gives it literally a longer productive life.
Makes a
So,
nice street.
yeah, so I've talked to Steve Gibson, had some neighborhood complaints about it would be West 4th Avenue, the alley between West 4th Avenue and West 3rd Avenue. So it's vibrant credit union alley.
Right.
And the street on 3rd is up here, and the alley sits here. So when it rains, the water flows into their garages. At one point, evidently, there was a sewer grate or storm drain
Stormwater there.
in the alley. When it got surfaced many years ago, the drain got covered.
Okay.
My question is there any way that the village can assist in putting some sort of drain in while this project's going on or whenever, this summer,
Yeah.
to assist in not having these people's garages swamp out all the time?
Right, and absolutely, that would be part of what we would use the contingency for. And it would be 2 steps. Public Works would come in, excavate out, and either reuse, maybe if it's a buried tile, maybe it could be reused or a new one laid in with an inlet.
I think our crews could handle that. take care
Oh,
of it.
absolutely.
That preparation,
Yeah.
and then there probably would be some patching.
We did that on West Street, we did a lot of prep.
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
solve it like that, yeah. Okay, so,
Plus, this is all covered by motor fuel tax.
yes. Well,
no.
most,
Not all?
yeah, not all.
This is out of.
That's what the main
local
use for
street
motor fuel.
Street repairs primarily.
I'm sorry.
I said, this is a continuation, this is year 3 of a general fund appropriation for street maintenance. Apart from, we use the MFT motor fuel tax on larger projects because those have to be engineered and bid and the work done according to state DOT standards, as opposed to this, which is strictly maintenance work.
Strictly ours.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I'm sorry.
You're filing it under maintenance.
I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so the motion should be for both of them, Steve, you said like 200,000, 205?
10% would be about 205,000, if you added 20,000 to the numbers that are shown here.
Could we combine the two and say not to exceed for the two, 205,000?
Not to exceed, yeah, because it'll be back and forth.
Yeah.
And I think, you could go more than that, but I think the scope of work that Steve has laid out here, and I think you've all received the attachment with the streets, the from and to, and the yardage involved. The 17,230, so 10% more would be about 20,000 additional.
Yeah.
So
Okay. That
maybe,
work for-
I would suggest at least 205,000 unless you want to do it as a percent contingency.
Let's do that number. We can always make some adjustments with things later. That work for everybody to do the two together, not to exceed 205, and then get done as much as we can for that price.
As long as Lincoln says it's okay.
He shook his head once.
Yeah.
You
So I'm
gonna
not-
make the motion, Karen, or somebody who's, if we're ready to move on it?
I'll make the motion for not to exceed 205,000.
For both microsurfacing and hot
And
infiltration.
on the plus.
Is that okay with that? Do you understand?
I'll second the motion.
All right, motion's made and seconded to approve those two items together in that total amount, and we'll get some more good street work done this year. Motion made and seconded, roll call, Michelle, sorry, can't get our tongue to work.
Doug Humphrey.
Yes.
Dan Burbeck.
Yeah.
Karen Wilson.
Yes.
Bruce Stickles.
Yes.
Jerry Motter.
Yes.
Okay, we're in business. That's, the streets done well. Okay, consideration for the following appointments to boards, commissions, and committees by me. These are the current people in these positions. We don't have any new ones to do. For the Police Commission, Richard Stout. For Zoning Board of Appeals, Dave Kraus and Dick Stone. Planning Commission, Bill Fabry and Ed Weinert. Metropolitan Airport Authority, Dick Stone. I left out one here, but these are reappointments. They're not new people, so if somebody's left out, don't think you're off the board. It's just, these are the ones whose term is up at that point. So, and Steve, you want to mention or talk about the Police Pension Board?
Yeah, Police Pension Board, the appointments to that are spelled out under state statutes on who has to be represented on the board. Ariane Cox has been one of the village as the employer's appointment to the Police Pension Board for 16 years. And so she is ending her current term as of April 30th under her current appointment. But the state law provides that the city treasurer does not need to be appointed, that position is an ex officio non-voting member, which leaves us with a vacancy for the employer. So she will continue to attend and sit in on those meetings, will not be a voting member, and then the recommendation by staff is that Danielle DeWally, who is our HR and payroll person, be appointed to the new term to fill the vacancy left by Ariane being ex officio.
That make sense to everybody?
Yep.
So those appointments, I don't want to repeat those. Okay, would there be a motion to approve those appointments?
I'll make a motion to approve those appointments.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded to approve those aforementioned appointments. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. And thank the people who do that. Well, we've got to look at, I think there might be an opening on one of the boards. Ed, do you know?
No, not all that, I don't know.
Okay, I'm sorry, I shouldn't
I
have.
think there is one vacancy.
Yeah, I'll take care of that. Okay, thank you.
Do you want to mention Jerry's position come May? Or returning to the planning commission?
Well, I thought we'd do that next time. Yeah, okay. Okay, item 11, consideration of an ordinance implementing a municipal grocery retailer's occupation tax and municipal grocery service occupational tax effective January 1st, 2026. We've talked about this many times in meetings. The government really did the city's a favor here. We've had a 1% grocery tax for as long as I've been around, that's a long time. And the governor says, well, I'm going to make some political points, so I'm going to knock that off, which didn't cost the state anything, it just cost cities that 1%, which is quite a chunk for us, in the tune of about $750,000 a year that we get from our very successful grocery store. So, but he left it up to us to take the heat from anybody who wants to make any heat from it, to put that tax back on. So that's what we plan on doing. We've talked about this many times, and we have the, what's this? Oh,
Some background information.
okay, Steve, you want to talk to it more?
You're doing fine.
Well, I think to me, it's a no-brainer. 1% is not something that, well, anyway, it means more to the village of Milan than you can imagine. I mean, the money's tight. Every other city in the Quad Cities has done this. They've looked at it, that there's a slight savings to the consumer, but, and I'm not gonna, I guess I shouldn't comment on that, but it means a whole lot to the towns and cities. Moline has done it, East Moline, I'm not sure, well,
Rock Island has done the first reading on theirs.
okay, they're doing it at the present time, yeah.
And there are two other things that I think are significant, particularly in Milan's case, and that is, we have a regional Hy-Vee. And the trade area for that, our community is 5,100 population, but the trade area for Hy-Vee is upwards to about 50,000 for their primary trade area. And they have people that extend, beyond that, but that's where the bulk of their business comes from. So if you take a look at it, rather than 5,000 people contributing to producing, and we actually estimate now, as we've gotten some refined numbers, that it could be as much as about 750,000. So when we first did the analysis of the legislation about a year ago this time, we could identify about 570,000. With the way that the legislation had ended up and the number of retailers that it applies to, certainly the largest one is Hy-Vee, but there are other retailers that also collect at the 1% rate on groceries. So Illinois Department of Revenue will not tell us how much, but our best guess is somewhere between 700 and 750,000. Instead of 5,000 people having to make up that shortfall, if this board does nothing, the 1% grocery tax will lapse in January 1st of 2026. And 5,000 people to make up that up versus 50,000 people to keep that in place. People on the lowest economic scale qualify for the federal SNAP program. And those people, in addition to getting help with their groceries, do not pay 1% grocery tax on it. So one of the arguments that was made at the state level was the people that it hurts the most are paying a disproportionately high share of their income towards groceries. They are not paying this 1% if they are in the SNAP program. So as the mayor said, doing away with it does not help the state of Illinois, because the state of Illinois never did anything except collect and pass back to the municipalities the 1% tax. This is not a tax increase. It extends it beyond January 1st of 2026.
Yep, it's political.
So I think it's a burden on the taxpayers here. If we don't pass this, we have to come up some way with the $750,000 to make up for that. And most of the people who live there shop in Milan, but then a lot of other people outside of Milan shop in Milan. But the burden comes back on the taxpayers to make up the $750,000, not the people who live outside of Milan. So this is another reason why we need to adopt this and put it back in place.
Right. If there's not any further discussion, or is there, anybody else want to make a comment? This is ordinance 1796. If it's your pleasure, a motion for that would be in line, and we would take care of that onus that's been on us for quite some time. So, would there be a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 1796.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's made and seconded to adopt that ordinance. Michelle, would you call the roll, please?
Dan Verbeck.
Yeah.
Karen Wilson.
Yes.
Bruce Stickles.
Yes.
Jerry Mutter.
Yes.
Doug Humphrey.
Yes.
Motion carried. Very good. Got that out of the way. Consideration of a police pension actuarial services through Lauterbach and Amen through April 30th, 2027. Steve, you want to explain this just a little bit? We hire them to do the police pension audits. And Steve?
Yeah, the company actually has several services that they do for the police pension board. But this particular one is that we would continue the same arrangement we've had for a number of years, where they retain an actuarial who calculates what the future liability will be for the police pension fund. The state of Illinois also does that, and they come back with a minimum required contribution by the city to fund police pension. Their assumptions are bogus. They are very inaccurate. If we relied on the state's calculation and funded only at that level, we would fall behind and end up with increased deficit and kicking a financial can down the road, rather than as we are now, where we fund according to the actuarial, and years that we can, we put additional money in to decrease the unfunded liability. It's kind of the equivalent of paying off a heavy balance on a credit card. And the sooner that you can attack it and do it religiously, rather than send in the minimum monthly payment, the better financial reward there is in the long run. The more money we save, and it's taxpayer money. So what this is a proposal to accept a 3-year contract for annual fiduciary reporting, including an actuarial study. It is split 50-50 with the police pension board picking up half of it and the village picking it up the other half, because again, it's a joint responsibility. We're represented on that board by Ariane and now Danielle and Chief Johnson, as well as also Sean Johnson is on that board. So the police department and retired officers, police employees, sworn officers and retired officers also have representation on that police pension board. So staff recommendation is to approve the contract, and I buried it in my pile here, for the actuarial services. Get back to that piece of paper. Anybody have yours on top?
No, I don't. Mine's buried someplace too.
You need it. You
Here
want
it is.
it.
Thank you.
Here's Steve. Yeah.
And so the yearly amounts, for the fiscal year ending next week on April 30th, 2025, it would be $6,520. The following year, $6,780, and the year after, $7,060.
Is that the total, or is that our share?
That is the total.
Total, so we have half of that. The pension board, the other half, right?
Yes. Correct.
Okay. So you understand our share is half of that total, as you said. Would there be a motion to approve hiring Lauterbach and Amen for the police pension actuarial services? Got to have an actuary.
I'll make a motion.
Motion is made. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded for approval of that hiring of those. We should have a roll call, please.
Karen Wilson,
Yes.
Bruce Stickle.
Yes.
Jerry Motter,
Yes.
Doug Humphrey,
Yes.
Dan Verbeck.
Yeah.
Motion carried. They're hired. They've done a good job for us in the past. Consideration Milan Alliance to hold diabetes alert days on Saturday, May 17th, 9 to 3 at IV. Never been a problem with this. The Lions get pretty rowdy sometimes, but they've been okay. I just said that.
Yeah, right.
So, without further ado, would there be a motion to approve that?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the Milan Lions Home Diabetes alert days on Saturday, May 17th, 9 to 3 at Hy-Vee.
Second.
Second, motion made and seconded to approve that. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. I think we usually write a letter. Somebody, can we just tell you? No. We'll write a letter. Did you get it?
There's a letter in your
Oh,
packet.
it's in the packet. Okay. it is.
Yeah, Harry brought it up, or dropped it.
All right, good deal. Consideration to approve a letter of support for the Illinois Digital Equity Capacity Grant for the American Job Center. Michelle knows this. She was contacted by this group, so you want to explain it, Michelle?
Yes. So I was reached out through the website by a lady from the American Job Center who was looking for support from for the Tri-County Consortium, which is for Rock Island County, Henry County, and Mercer County, to provide much-needed digital literacy classes in the communities. What they basically do is they will teach school-aged children how to pay bills online, check the news, anything like that. So basically, there's nothing monetary coming from the village. It's just a letter of support that they have provided. We just fill it in, and they turn it over to, I'm assuming, since it's part of the U.S. Department of Labor, and there's been so many cuts, I'm assuming it goes back to the Department of Labor, and
Yeah,
hopefully they get the funding and the grants that they need.
I think it's a good thing. I think there's a need for that. In fact, I wonder if I could get in on the class.
I was gonna say, sign up for a
Maybe they'll teach them how to write a paper check.
I don't
Yeah,
consider myself a literate.
yeah.
Nobody knows how to
Anyway.
write
I
a paper
also,
check.
just in case anyone knows anyone who may benefit from this, they also are an actual job center. So it's a one-stop career resource for job seekers and businesses. So you can go there, they have access to printers and computers and everything to help you with your resume writing, interviewing skills. So,
Good. I think it's a good program. We're just approving a letter of support. We'll allow Michelle to send that back as is. So would there be a motion to that effect to approve it?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the letter of support for Illinois Digital Equity Capacity Grant for the American Job Center.
For a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and second to approve that support and send off the letter. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Very good. Thank you. Got through a long agenda. Let's go to committee reports. Dan, anything?
Nope.
Nothing. Karen?
Always gotta have
Always got
something. Parks, West Park, Fontenoy, addition, Nell Daniels, Presbyterian Park. We have handicap accessible facilities. I would like to see handicap accessible restrooms, portable restrooms.
Portables, yeah.
For the summertime. I don't know if that needs to be put on next meeting's agenda. If so, I would make it put on the agenda.
Okay.
I think it's necessary.
Could we get some prices of them, Karen? Do you have any?
I know, Honey Hut sold out to the outhouse.
Oh, okay.
And I believe that's who the village goes through
Okay.
now. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
Jeannie might know because
Yeah.
of the fest.
Yeah.
But I know outhouse comes weekly, cleans
Cleans them.
them, and stocks them.
Yeah, okay.
So if that could please be put on
Yeah,
agenda next time.
let's do that.
And then sad but true, we're going to be looking at some water rate increases, water sewer
Water
rate
sewer, yeah.
increases. It's not gonna happen immediately, but the new sewer plant is going to be moving along. So I want to soften the blow now and let you know that we are going to be looking at some things. I also, this year, do want to confirm some sort of water sewer line insurance program. If
Is that for
we-
individuals?
Individuals.
We've got a letter, I just got a letter about it.
Yeah, City of Rock Island does it, I believe other municipalities do it. If you have to replace these lines, I mean, it's $5,000 to $10,000. It's somebody's nest egg. It's, you know, most people don't have that sitting around in their bank accounts. So I would like to ask the board for help when we bring information so that we can nail down somebody to provide those services to citizens of Milan.
Yeah, we've got a letter. It's all private stuff. I just-
It's private things. I know, I've even talked to my homeowner's insurance,
Yeah.
and my agent's like, Karen, you don't want to buy it through us because it'll be expensive. If you go through a group program,
Oh.
then they can make that
I
rate
didn't know that.
smaller. And, you know, there's a rate for water and a rate for sewer. You
Yeah.
don't have to get both.
Yeah.
It would be wise to get both, especially if you're in an area that's got the trees, tree roots.
Yeah.
It could save you a bucket. So,
Steve, how about staff looking into that? Maybe comment?
I think that's an excellent idea. It's, there are many cities that do offer that, and it's basically a sponsorship.
yes,
And what it does is, under our umbrella, allows people to purchase optionally on their own. They pay the premium, they choose whether or not to have water or water and sewer or
Right.
sewer only. And particularly if, in areas where, for a couple of decades, Orangeburg sewer line was
oh,
the thing.
absolutely.
We still-
And that's a failure waiting to happen, and many people have already had those collapse. If they have an Orangeburg lateral running from their house to the cities, and I want to make clear to it that we're talking about the private responsibility, because
Right.
the water line coming in from the street and the sewer line going out to the sanitary sewer are the homeowners. And it can be extremely expensive.
And your homeowner's insurance does not cover it.
Yeah.
Let's get some more information about that. Let's- yeah.
And that's all I have.
Very good, thank you much.
Nothing
Bruce?
here.
Jerry?
Nothing.
Doug?
Nope.
Steve, anything more?
Just to kind of carry on the theme that you mentioned as far as water and sewer rates, this year will be just normal maintenance kind of adjustments. But the Illinois EPA is requiring us to upgrade our water treatment plant. We've talked about this before in council meetings, and what we have going on right now is the engineering services for the design of that. As a matter of fact, you saw we had a pretty big bill, one of the engineers again this month for it. And that design work will be done within the next year, next 12 months, submitted to the Illinois EPA for their review of the plant design. And then, so they will probably bounce back. Inevitably, they have some things that they'll question or fine tuning that they'll want to make. But that process sometime over the next 6 to 12 months, we'll start to have a pretty good idea from the engineer as far as what it will cost to build the plant. And basically, within the fenced area that we have, that already has a lot of equipment and buildings, they have to figure a way to shoehorn in a brand-new replacement plant while keeping the old one in operation. And it's not an easy operation, and it will be, when it's done and it's turned live, then the second phase of that will be going in and demoing and removing all of everything, most all of everything that's down there. There'll be a few things that get reused, but most of it cannot be. But the original plant was built in the 60s. We've gotten 60 years of service out of a plant that was originally designed with a 30 to 40-year life. So it's not a matter of something that was neglected. It has allowed us to produce very good effluent that is discharged into the river, and we meet the standards that apply to the plant. But Illinois EPA is required under federal clean water guidelines to enforce all communities through a discharge monitoring permit on what the standards are. And they keep making those tougher and tougher and tougher. And there's some things coming down the pike that we have to meet with a new plant. There's no way to do it by adding it onto a 60-year-old plant.
And we must comply. We don't
We
really
have
a
to
choice.
comply.
This is not something we dreamed up, it's something we have to do for the town.
Now-
There are a lot of other communities in the same boat. The same thing. Go ahead.
East Morane's going through it.
Yeah, our engineers characterize it as two groups. those communities that have already been through it, and those communities that have it yet in front of them. And we have it, in the near term. But that, we don't even know enough. We have some preliminary ideas on the cost of the plant, but we won't know until the design is finalized. The engineer will make their final estimate, and then once it's put out to bid, to find out at the time that we go to the market, even what those costs will be.
How long do you think it'll be before it goes out for bid?
I think we're looking at it being bid about a year from now, with some construction starting either late construction season '26 or on into the spring of
27.
'27. And that depends in part what Illinois EPA kicks back, their review process.
So it's like a 4-year process.
It will be at least 3 construction seasons. And a lot of work to be done and tens of millions of dollars. But that will not be the rates that we're talking about for a while.
Right.
Illinois EPA, through a federal program, does make low-interest loans to fund these programs. We have to repay that down. There's a possibility of up to $5 million of loan forgiveness through the state program. And so that will be a huge offset to it. And the rest of it then has to be budgeted for over about a 30-year retirement for the capital improvement for the expense of the rest of the plant. The good news is the operating costs of the new plant, we don't expect it to exceed, but to be basically on par with what our operating costs are now. But it will be able to take care of things like PFOS and nitrogen removal and a variety of different things that we can't do with our existing plant and that the state will require of us.
The more requirements every year, it seems, to take things out of the wastewater. It's for the environment. Sometimes we disagree, sometimes it's just something we have to do, and that's what this is, so we're excited.
And by utilizing the money that we got from ARPA, it has slowed down the need to do something. It's bought us a little time.
Yeah, right.
That was around $300,000.
Yeah.
So,
We,
and by the way, that was one of the items that you could spend the ARPA money on.
Right. But right now, we need to keep up with operating costs.
Correct.
Prices have gone up on everything, chemicals, manpower, the whole thing.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to be looking at through a company we've hired to advise us on this, Waterworks, and see what we need to do. There'll be, depends what you call small. There won't be huge increases, but there still will be some increases coming up. Okay, so.
And that's probably, depending on, the council's schedule on it, it's probably 4 or 5 months before any adjustment would be made on it. So it would be, our new fiscal year starts May 1st. And so it really won't impact the city's revenues until the last half of this upcoming fiscal year.
I think we need to, I talked about that with Dwayne, we need to send a letter out to everybody about when that does come up, with rate increase, explaining why, showing what the cost of the new plant is, why we're spending this money. Of course, the EPA is mandating it, and not just throw it right in their face that, hey, now you're gonna pay another extra $10 or something, They want to explain to everybody why we're doing it and why the rate is going up. The rate, the water part that the village residents are paying are kind of, I don't know what percentage is. It's a small part, but an important part of the whole scheme of the whole bill.
Right.
So,
It's also, the state requirements are also a hardship on a lot of smaller communities or rural water or sanitary districts. And they're looking for whatever solutions they can have, because to meet the standards with redundancy and new treatment standards and things, a lot of the small homeowners associations can't do it. We've got a trailer park that's looking to us and to find out if it makes sense for them to buy service from us in the future. for both water and sewer. We have a water association, we've talked about this before, that is rural, that is interested in annexing and becoming a customer on our system. And all of those will help spread the costs and really help the Milan taxpayer as well.
Well, the plus side, like you said before, is that once this is all completed, our expenses that we occur every now and then, the $30,000 to replace a pump or something else, another month from now, that should be like a brand new car. You should be no expenses, and you'll catch up in the long run. It's going to pay off.
Yeah, that's probably a good analogy, is we're driving a 60-year-old car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you're,
Almost there.
yeah, and when you're redoing a plant like that, it's like living in a home where you're totally tearing it all apart, but you're living there. And it takes longer to do it when you're doing it like that versus just going in a blank canvas and you start putting pieces together.
Yeah, so we have work to do on that, but, so there will be some changes made in the future as we go. Okay, I'd like to make a comment. Oh, I'm sorry, Doug, did we get over? Yeah, we got over.
Yeah, we got around.
Sorry. Before we go to citizens, I'd like to say special thanks to Dan and Jerry. This is their last meeting. There were appointments during the last term. So we appreciate your efforts, Dan, and Jerry, you too. Jerry was here about every meeting for years before that. And it's good to have you guys with us, and maybe we could find some things for you.
It's been a pleasure to serve Milan again.
I appreciate that.
As you know, I was on the auxiliary in
Yeah.
Milan for 3 years on the police department, so.
Yeah.
And the board's loss is the planning board's gain.
Jerry was on the planning board, so with his approval, we'll go back. We'll fill up the board again. So thanks to both of you. I just want to make sure you understand that we do appreciate it.
Thank you for appointing me.
You're very welcome.
We'll need you here to get a quorum at the May 5th meeting, so that we can officially convene that meeting.
Yeah, good. Yeah, we have to go through the proper procedures to make swear the new people in and so on. So, okay, let's go to citizens' opportunity to address the village board. I would ask if you just raise your hand to be recognized and come up front here, and we'll try to follow the same rules that we're trying to work on for next time. So, okay, so come up front here where we are. Sarah, give us your name and address, please.
Sarah Savansky, Hillcrest Edition.
I'm sorry?
Sarah Savansky,
Yep.
I live in the Hillcrest
yeah.
Edition. I have a question with regards to the microsurfacing and Hockey Place.
Uh-huh.
Where are you doing it this year?
We can give you a copy of this before you leave.
Some of it
And
was in
this-
Hillcrest, I think.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about a dozen locations, 11 or 12 locations.
Where has it been done in the past?
Pardon?
Well,
Where has
it's,
it been done in the past?
it's
Where has it
areas
been
that
done?
haven't over the last 2 years.
I would just like to go see where it has been done.
I know
Fontenoy Edition.
Oh, sure.
Second Avenue
All of
East has been
Fontenoy.
Twelfth
done.
Avenue.
Okay, one
All-
at a time.
Let me speak. All of Fontenoy, all of Ginger Hill, where are the others?
Black Hawk Avenue.
Yeah.
12th Avenue that runs past
Yeah.
St.
You
Matthew's
can have
Church.
that.
Yeah, you can have that, Matt.
Thank you. Which brings up one other question with the meeting changes. Is there a way to put in there, include something with questions that come up during the course of the meeting? I mean, I wouldn't have signed in. I mean, just,
We'll look at it. Most towns don't. You have a question, you bring it up next time, or come up after the meeting and talk to us about
I
it.
mean, I didn't know, I mean, I had the agenda
I
beforehand,
understand.
but I
Well,
didn't.
we'll look at it. See, I don't know, Sarah.
Okay.
That's a good point. We don't want to get any lengthy discussions about things. We've got business to take care of, we'd like to get it done, but also take care of what concerns people have. So we'll see what we can do with it. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Come up front and give us your name and address, please.
I'm Parker, Hillcrest Edition.
Okay.
First, I want to start with, I apologize for my behavior last week. No matter how I am treated, it's not an excuse for reacting the way I did. So I apologize for my
I
reaction.
don't think you were treated badly, but that's a disagreement we can have.
That's your opinion. Anyway.
I guess it is.
Steve, you said you didn't know how much the payment for the unpaid federal employee taxes was. but I have an email where it says you take full responsibility for it, or the penalties and the late filing. Do you still not know how much that was?
There were a number of agencies over a number of years before it settled. I do not have a final tally on that. If you want more information, I welcome you to come into the office and we'll talk it over and go through it. That would be a lot easier to get to the root of what you're asking for than the FOIAs have been. I think that's a better mechanism for answering your
The
question.
FOIAs are to get that information and to get it legally and such, so you
But
don't
you're
want it on
welcome.
the record?
No, I did not say that. I invited you to come in and we will help answer your questions rather than just sending out reams of information that you asked for.
Right, that's what I suggest to do. Come in
Okay,
and see us.
all right. Is that going to be allowed to be videoed?
I think that's an unusual request. It implies
What would be your
that
purpose
we're-
in videoing?
that we're improper or
Because if I
we're-
don't have a paper for proof of what you're telling me, how do I retell?
You'll just have to assess my credibility.
That's right.
Okay.
Thank you. Anybody else? Good of the village. Hearing none, thank you guys again for your participation. Thank you for it, Karen.
I'll make a motion.
And I'll second.
And a second, motion made and seconded to adjourn. We stand adjourned. Thank you.